In today's fast-paced world, where stress, anxiety, and emotional turmoil seem to be ever present, maintaining emotional balance can feel like an impossible task. Whether it's the constant pressure from work, the never-ending noise of modern life, or the unpredictability of personal challenges, emotions can easily spiral out of control. But what if there was a way to regain that balance? What if there was a method to not only understand your emotions but also transform them into sources of peace and clarity? This is where Buddhist teachings, especially its meditation techniques, come into play. Buddhism, with its profound insights into the nature of the mind and emotions, offers practical tools for emotional regulation. It teaches that emotions are not inherently good or bad but are simply responses to the world around us. Understanding this concept is the first step in gaining control over them. In Buddhism, emotions are seen as temporary, fleeting, and conditioned by our thoughts and actions. Through mindfulness and meditation, we learn to observe our emotions without becoming overwhelmed or attached to them. One of the core meditation practices in Buddhism is mindfulness meditation, which involves paying attention to the present moment with full awareness. This practice encourages us to observe our thoughts, feelings, and bodily sensations as they arise, without judgment. By cultivating mindfulness, we create a space between stimulus and reaction, allowing us to respond to our emotions rather than react impulsively. This space is where emotional regulation begins. When we are mindful, we can recognize when our emotions are beginning to take over and take conscious steps to soothe or redirect them. Another key Buddhist practice that aids emotional regulation is loving-kindness meditation, or metta meditation. This practice involves cultivating feelings of compassion and goodwill toward oneself and others. By focusing on kindness and love, we can counteract feelings of anger, fear, and frustration that often arise in difficult situations. Loving-kindness meditation helps soften the heart and mind, promoting emotional resilience and fostering positive emotional states, even in the face of adversity. The Buddhist concept of impermanence, or anicca, is also deeply connected to emotional regulation. Impermanence teaches that everything, including our emotions, is temporary. This understanding helps us let go of intense feelings that might otherwise overwhelm us. When we remember that emotions, like all things, are transient, we can develop a sense of detachment and equanimity. This doesn't mean we suppress or ignore our emotions, rather, we acknowledge them without clinging to them. We allow them to rise and fall, just as waves rise and fall in the ocean. Moreover, the Buddhist practice of meditation helps us cultivate a state of inner peace through focused attention and detachment from distractions. By regularly practicing meditation, we train the mind to stay calm and centered, even in the most challenging circumstances. This discipline not only helps in reducing stress and anxiety but also enhances our ability to regulate our emotional responses to external events. In essence, meditation strengthens our emotional resilience and our capacity to maintain balance, regardless of the circumstances around us. One of the greatest challenges we face in emotional regulation is the tendency to get caught up in our thoughts and reactions. Our minds often create stories around our emotions, amplifying them or twisting them into something larger than they are. Buddhism teaches us to break free from these mental patterns through practices like vipassana meditation, which encourages deep self-awareness and insight into the nature of our thoughts and emotions. Through this practice, we gain clarity and wisdom, enabling us to see our emotions for what they truly are, temporary and ultimately inconsequential. With this clarity, we can make wiser choices in how we respond to our feelings. Finally, Buddhist teachings encourage us to practice non-attachment. This concept, which is central to many Buddhist traditions, is essential for emotional regulation. Non-attachment does not mean indifference or a lack of care, rather, it means that we do not cling to our emotions, desires, or outcomes. We let go of the need to control everything and accept life as it comes, with its ups and downs. When we practice non-attachment, we free ourselves from the emotional roller coaster that often comes with holding on too tightly to outcomes or expectations. In conclusion, Buddhist meditation techniques offer a transformative path to emotional regulation and inner peace. By cultivating mindfulness, loving-kindness, impermanence, and non-attachment, we learn to navigate our emotions with grace and wisdom. These practices help us not only to understand our emotional responses but also to transform them into opportunities for growth and peace. In a world that constantly pulls us in many directions, teachings of Buddhism provide a powerful tool to cultivate emotional stability and to maintain inner calm, no matter what life throws our way. In the realm of Buddhist philosophy, emotions are neither good nor bad, they are simply a natural part of being human. They arise in response to the world around us, and they are neither to be suppressed nor avoided. This view challenges the common misconception that we must rid ourselves of negative emotions like anger, sadness, or fear to achieve inner peace. Instead, Buddhism teaches that emotions are an essential part of the human experience, offering valuable insights into our minds and our interactions with the world. However, it is crucial to understand that while emotions themselves are not inherently harmful, unchecked emotions can lead to suffering both for ourselves and for those around us. The first step in the Buddhist approach to emotional regulation is recognizing that emotions are impermanent. In Buddhist thought, everything in life is transient. This includes our feelings. The emotion of anger, for example, may feel overwhelming in the moment, but it is not permanent. It will rise, peak, and eventually fade. Similarly, happiness, joy, and excitement, while often cherished, are equally fleeting. Understanding this fundamental truth of impermanence helps us shift our perspective on emotions. Instead of becoming attached to our feelings or reacting impulsively to them, we can learn to observe them with clarity and wisdom. Buddhism offers the practice of mindfulness as a powerful tool for this observation. Mindfulness, or sati in Pali, involves being fully present in the moment, with a non-judgmental awareness of whatever is happening in our minds and bodies. When we practice mindfulness, we learn to simply observe our emotions as they arise, without becoming entangled in them. We notice the sensation of anger or the stirrings of sadness, but we don't allow these emotions to control us. Instead of identifying with the emotion, I am angry or I am sad, we acknowledge that these are simply passing phenomena. This shift from identification to observation is a key part of emotional regulation. By cultivating mindfulness, we gain insight into the true nature of our emotions. We begin to notice patterns in our emotional responses, what triggers certain feelings, how long they last, and how we typically react to them. This awareness allows us to make more informed choices about how we respond. For example, when we feel anger rising, we can pause and observe the physical sensations associated with it, the tightness in the chest, the tension in the jaw, the rush of heat in the face. By simply acknowledging these sensations, we create a moment of pause before reacting. This pause is where emotional regulation begins. Equally important in Buddhist emotional regulation is the practice of non-attachment. In Buddhist teachings, attachment is the root cause of suffering. We become attached to our emotions, desires, and outcomes, believing that they define who we are or determine our happiness. However, Buddhism teaches that clinging to anything, whether it's a fleeting emotion or an external situation, leads to suffering. When we attach ourselves to our emotions, we increase their power over us. For example, when we cling to anger, it festers and grows, leading to greater frustration and conflict. Similarly, when we hold onto happiness too tightly, we set ourselves up for disappointment when that happiness inevitably fades. Non-attachment doesn't mean indifference or detachment from life. It means freeing ourselves from the need to control or possess our emotions. It is about accepting that emotions will come and go, just like everything else in life. By practicing non-attachment, we allow ourselves to experience emotions fully, without becoming overwhelmed or enslaved by them. This acceptance creates space for emotional freedom, where we can feel our emotions without being controlled by them. Buddhism also emphasizes the importance of compassion, both for ourselves and for others, in regulating our emotions. When we practice loving-kindness meditation, we cultivate feelings of goodwill and understanding. This practice teaches us to be gentle with ourselves when we experience difficult emotions and to extend that same kindness to others. By cultivating compassion, we soften the edges of harsh emotions like anger or resentment, transforming them into opportunities for growth and understanding. When we treat ourselves with kindness and patience, we are less likely to react impulsively and more likely to approach our emotions with clarity and care. In addition to mindfulness and compassion, Buddhism encourages the cultivation of equanimity. Equanimity is a state of mental balance and calmness, regardless of external circumstances. It is the ability to remain undisturbed by the highs and lows of life, understanding that everything is in constant flux. When we cultivate equanimity, we develop the inner strength to stay calm and composed in the face of emotional turbulence. This doesn't mean suppressing our feelings or pretending that everything is fine when it's not. Rather, it means acknowledging our emotions without being overwhelmed by them. Equanimity allows us to experience the full spectrum of emotions, both positive and negative, without letting them dictate our reactions or behavior. One of the most powerful ways Buddhism teaches us to handle emotions is through the practice of detachment from the ego. Our emotional responses are often linked to our sense of self and our desires for certain outcomes. When we feel slighted, for instance, our ego may feel wounded, leading to anger or resentment. Buddhism teaches us to recognize the impermanence of the self and to let go of the ego's need for validation. When we detach from our ego, we can see emotions as just emotions, not as reflections of our identity or our worth. This insight allows us to respond to emotions from a place of wisdom, rather than reacting out of a sense of personal offense or attachment. In conclusion, the Buddhist view of emotions is one of understanding and acceptance. Emotions are a natural part of the human experience, and they are not something to be feared or avoided. By practicing mindfulness, non-attachment, compassion, and equanimity, we can learn to regulate our emotions and navigate them with wisdom. The key lies not in suppressing or controlling our emotions, but in observing them with awareness and responding to them with compassion and balance. Through these teachings, Buddhism offers a path to emotional freedom, helping us find a peaceful center amidst the storm of life. Buddhist meditation offers a profound approach to emotional control, providing a pathway to achieving inner peace and emotional balance. In today's fast-paced world, where emotional turbulence can easily overwhelm us, these practices stand as a beacon of hope. The key lies in understanding and mastering the mind through meditation, which is not only a spiritual practice but also a highly practical one that can transform the way we respond to life's challenges. Let's delve into some of the most effective Buddhist meditation techniques that have been practiced for centuries to achieve emotional regulation. One of the core practices in Buddhism is anapanasati, or mindfulness of breath. This technique focuses on the simple, yet incredibly powerful act of observing the breath as it enters and leaves the body. When we sit in meditation, we are often caught up in the chaos of our thoughts, emotions, and external distractions. However, by shifting our focus to the breath, we immediately bring ourselves back to the present moment. Each inhale and exhale becomes an anchor that grounds us, allowing us to detach from overwhelming emotions and thoughts. This mindfulness of breath offers us a space where we can simply observe our emotions without being swept away by them, leading to a sense of calm and stability. With continued practice, the mind learns to be less reactive, creating a profound shift in how we experience emotions. While anapanasati offers a way to directly regulate emotional states through focused attention, another equally transformative practice is metta bhavana, or loving-kindness meditation. In metta bhavana, we cultivate feelings of love, kindness, and compassion, not only for others but for ourselves as well. This practice is deeply rooted in the understanding that to truly be at peace with the world, we must first be at peace with ourselves. When we sit down for metta meditation, we begin by directing positive and loving thoughts toward ourselves, allowing us to heal and soften any self-judgment or resentment we may harbor. Afterward, we expand this loving kindness to others, friends, family, even those we may find difficult to love. Over time, metta bhavana nurtures a heart full of compassion, reducing feelings of anger, frustration, and hostility. By training ourselves to cultivate kindness in this way, we create a profound shift in how we view and respond to the world around us. Instead of reacting from a place of defensiveness or fear, we respond with an open heart, leading to more peaceful and harmonious relationships. The beauty of both anapanasati and metta bhavana lies in their simplicity. These techniques don't require complicated rituals or lengthy practices. They are practical tools that anyone can incorporate into their daily lives. Whether you are sitting in meditation for just a few minutes or engaging in mindfulness throughout your day, the effects are cumulative and transformative. With regular practice, you will find that you are better equipped to handle the stresses and challenges that life presents. You will be able to respond to emotional triggers with greater awareness, instead of reacting impulsively, which is often the cause of emotional turmoil. Furthermore, these Buddhist meditation techniques teach us the importance of patience. Emotional regulation doesn't happen overnight, and the journey towards inner peace is a lifelong practice. However, with every breath we take and every moment we dedicate to cultivating loving kindness, we are taking steps toward emotional freedom and calm. These practices remind us that emotions are not inherently bad or something to be feared. They are natural, transient phenomena that come and go. It's how we relate to them that determines whether we experience suffering or peace. Meditation provides a way to embrace our emotions without being controlled by them. As you embark on this path, remember that the goal isn't to eliminate emotions but to develop a wise relationship with them. By cultivating mindfulness and compassion, we can create space within ourselves for peace, joy, and emotional freedom. With time and dedication, these Buddhist meditation techniques can serve as an invaluable tool for not only understanding our emotions but transforming them into sources of strength and serenity. The transformative power of Buddhist meditation goes far beyond simply managing emotions in the moment. It lays the foundation for long-lasting emotional stability, creating a profound shift in how we experience and interact with the world. In our everyday lives, we often find ourselves swept away by the rapid flow of emotions, reacting impulsively to situations that trigger anger, anxiety, or frustration. However, through the practice of meditation, we can begin to change this pattern. The goal is not just to calm ourselves in moments of distress, but to cultivate a deeper sense of emotional resilience and wisdom that carries us through all of life's ups and downs. At the core of Buddhist practice lies the understanding that emotions are fleeting, they rise, peak, and fall away. They are not permanent fixtures of our identity. However, without the proper tools to understand and manage these emotions, we often find ourselves at their mercy, reacting without awareness. Meditation offers us these tools, providing a safe space where we can examine our emotions without being controlled by them. As we practice mindfulness, we begin to develop the ability to observe our emotions from a distance, rather than getting caught up in the storm of our feelings. This distance allows us to choose how we respond, rather than simply reacting on impulse. Over time, we begin to make wiser choices, responding with thoughtfulness rather than knee-jerk reactions. But the beauty of Buddhist meditation lies in its long-term effects. Regular practice doesn't just help us in the heat of the moment, it gradually reprograms our minds. The more we engage in mindfulness, the more we develop a steady sense of emotional stability. We begin to feel less overwhelmed by the everyday stresses of life. Instead of feeling battered by every emotional wave, we develop a deeper sense of inner calm that remains unshaken even in the face of adversity. This emotional stability is not about suppressing or denying our feelings, but about developing the capacity to sit with them without being overwhelmed. It's about cultivating an inner peace that remains steady, regardless of the external chaos around us. The benefits of meditation extend far beyond emotional control. With continued practice, mindfulness and loving-kindness meditation help us grow in resilience. When faced with difficulties, instead of becoming consumed by frustration or fear, we develop the strength to face challenges with a calm and centered mind. This resilience doesn't come from avoiding discomfort, but from learning how to navigate it with grace. As we cultivate compassion for ourselves and others through metta bhavana, we begin to understand that emotional pain is a natural part of life and can be met with kindness and care. Rather than turning away from difficult emotions, we learn to embrace them with love and understanding, knowing that this approach leads to healing and growth. This process of transformation doesn't happen overnight. It requires patience, dedication, and a willingness to face our inner world. But with consistent practice, we begin to see the subtle but powerful changes that meditation brings. We become more aware of our emotional patterns, more compassionate toward ourselves and others, and more equipped to handle life's inevitable challenges. Meditation cultivates a sense of clarity and balance, helping us to navigate the world with greater peace and wisdom. In the long term, these practices provide a profound sense of emotional freedom. By learning to regulate our emotions through mindfulness and loving kindness, we no longer feel controlled by them. We become the masters of our emotional landscape, no longer swept away by external circumstances or internal turmoil. The emotional stability that comes from regular meditation creates a foundation for a more peaceful, centered, and compassionate life. We become less reactive and more proactive, approaching life's challenges with calm and clarity. This, in turn, leads to healthier relationships, greater self-awareness, and a deep sense of inner peace. So, as you begin to incorporate these Buddhist meditation techniques into your life, take a moment to appreciate the journey you are embarking on. The path to emotional regulation and lasting peace begins with a single step: taking a deep breath, finding stillness and allowing yourself the space to simply be. Through mindfulness and loving kindness, you will not only transform the way you experience your emotions, but also develop the tools to live a life of greater peace, joy, and resilience. With time, you'll find that emotional regulation is not a goal to be achieved, but a way of living, a natural state of being that arises from the deep practice of meditation.